Today on the Brew and Shavers SEC Sports Podcast, we look at 4 quarterback questions for SEC teams as we move into spring, closer to spring football. And we're also going to do a preview of the women's SEC basketball tournament. Let's go. Aaron, I know people are focused right now on SEC basketball, particularly as we get closer and closer to March Madness. The women's tournament starts Wednesday, March 4th.
That's right.
The men's tournament starts the week after, and then we're full blown into March Madness.
It is
But
a beautiful thing.
it is the SEC.
That's right.
And we don't talk about baseball a lot here, but there's a lot of baseball talk going on.
That's right.
And there is always SEC football talk.
No matter what.
So, Darren, you've identified 4 interesting quarterback situations as we get closer into spring football. So let's go ahead and start with your list of 4. What's your number 1 story as far as SEC quarterbacks?
Well, I wanted to look at 4 different quarterback rooms. And so when you or at least a few different quarterback rooms, it ended up being 4. And then you kind of pare that down to what do you think people are going to be talking about the most? And I think you only have to say one name, Arch Manning. That's what people are going to be talking about the most. And there's the little extra dynamic of Arch Manning having let me put up my air quotes, minor cleanup procedure that is a surgery on an injury that's a non-injury in order to correct it and be preventative. Okay, whatever all that means, I don't know. Anyway, so most importantly, Arch Manning has had a offseason minor surgery, and it's obviously going to limit what he can do during spring practice. And when you have a retooled offensive line and you have receivers like Cam Coleman coming in from Auburn, what does that mean? Now, obviously, he's going to heal up. That's the hope. That's what everybody hopes. Even if you're not a Texas or an Arch Manning fan, that's what everybody hopes. Obviously, he's going to heal up, and there will be some work that's done during the offseason, during the summer. But still, to lose that time when every day counts in the cutthroat version of the SEC that we currently live in, when every day counts, they're obviously going to lose some important time with how he syncs with the offensive line, being able to get out and throw those routes. Because feet, yes, we always talk about a quarterback's arm, but feet are really important for a quarterback too. Not just his running feet, but just when you talk about form and technique and all, feet are enormously important for a quarterback. So there's going to be some things that are going to be difficult for Arch Manning during this spring. And you can't help but wonder what's it going to look like with that offensive line and what's it going to look like with that receiving core, especially somebody new like Cam Coleman.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Manning. He knows
Right.
the system. He's familiar. He's got solid mechanics. He's got good football awareness.
Mm-hmm.
It's developing the chemistry with new guys like Coleman.
Absolutely.
You want to be on the same page with your new receiver. You want to be on the same page with your O-line. And that's, I think, the point that you're bringing out so well,
Absolutely.
Darren, is that's the reason to look at this and have some concern about how much this is going to throw those things off.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be something to definitely watch during the offseason.
Good one. How about your number 2 quarterback situation?
Well, from everything I'm seeing, Tennessee has not found a UCLA transfer this year. And Joey Aguilar stands alone as the only man that can't, compete for his 7th year in NCAA football right now for whatever reason. I don't know what, all of a sudden there's an age cap or something. And of course, we have to say in full disclosure, that's all still in conversation. There's going to be other court conversations and appeals and all of that stuff. But as of right now, there's a real power void in the Knoxville quarterback room. And you've got 2 guys that are – go ahead.
Let's just say the whole thing about Joey Aguilar and
Yeah.
not getting that another year of eligibility. It's further evidence that Tennessee is not in the Deep South. If Tennessee was in the Deep South, Joey Aguilar would be the starting quarterback for Tennessee next year.
See, I think it's because he transferred from the UCLA. He's a West Coast guy. We're not giving him another year.
Well, speaking of UCLA, how is our old friend Nico doing?
Oh well, who knows out there looking for a better deal? Oh, I'm sorry. For the first time ever, Tennessee fans just applauded me. I just got a standing O from somebody wearing orange.
Yeah, I'm sure you're going to cash in that goodwill pretty soon.
Oh, it'll end. Yeah. Anyway,
All right, back to who's going to
matter of
take
fact,
Joey's place.
I'm about to cash in on it right now because George McIntyre is one of the options, and George McIntyre. Did I say George McIntyre? Sorry, it is one of the. I think I'm saying the wrong name. I think I wrote down the wrong name. Oh no, it is. That's right. It's George McIntyre and George McIntyre. It's his grandfather. He has his grandfather's name. I confused myself there for a second. And the reason it's so upsetting to me is because his grandfather coached at Vanderbilt, and that's where he should have gone to school. Sorry, Tennessee fans, but that's just Anyway, you've got him.
Well, that didn't take long.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was about to cash in a hurry, but he's there. He's got a year in the system under his belt, which is just enormously valuable when you talk about Josh Heupel's system. So that's obviously going to be a key component of this struggle to see who's going to get that starting nod. But then you've got Faison Brandon, and I hope I'm saying Faison right. I think I am. If I'm not, I do apologize. But you've got him coming in as this kind of like he's getting the hype of Nico. He's getting the hype that Nico got. He's a 5-star. He's coming out of North Carolina, was like the Gatorade Player of the Year. They've been talking about him since he committed. So kind of a big deal there with him and coming to Tennessee and being part of this season or being a part of this roster. So coming off an 8-win season, which obviously Tennessee fans weren't happy about, that's going to be a big conversation. Who's going to grab that starting spot and what can they do with this offense?
How many years in a row has Heupel had a new quarterback?
Yeah, this is at least the fourth? I mean, is it every year that he's been there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot of room to talk as an LSU fan, but
Well, that's true. But
that's kind of the way things are.
I'm blank on his name, the guy that was really, really good that went pro. And then, is it Joe Milton?
That guy.
Yeah, that guy.
That guy.
It's amazing the things that stick in your mind. I couldn't tell you his name. I couldn't tell you where he went pro, but I remember while he was in college, he and his brother wrote a children's comic book. I can tell you that about him. Yeah. Somebody tell us the name in the comments. And then you had
goodness, we're slipping.
And then you had Joe Milton.
And by we, I mean you.
And then Nico. And then last year with Aguilar, and now you've got so at least this is what, the 5th consecutive year with a new quarterback?
Yeah.
That's crazy. And he's done everything he's done, and Tennessee fans are still talking about wanting to get rid of him. He still felt like he needed to fire his defensive coordinator. Wow. That's anyway. All righty. Yeah. So that's the Tennessee quarterback room story. How's that?
Definitely not a story for children.
No. There are not Tennessee alumni meetings that are children's comic books. That's correct.
Let's move on because you're taking way too much pleasure in this topic. So what's your third quarterback situation?
Well, third one's going to hit close to home. I don't think it's this huge thing to watch, but I still think it's worth having a conversation. Lane Kiffin, the transfer portal king, gets in 2 great transfers. Of course, Sam Levit is the transfer that everybody was talking about, the number 1 ranked player, not just quarterback, but number 1 ranked player in the transfer portal. But because of all the hype, part of the conversation that wasn't talked about enough or didn't get enough attention is the fact that he is coming off a surgery that was a season-ending surgery that was on his foot to repair something that had been going on. It was a nagging injury. It wasn't just a something happened, let's repair it, move on. It had been a nagging injury, and there was a season-ending surgery. So what's that going to look like? And then in the meantime, you have Landon Clark transferring in from Elon, and even Lane Kiffin himself has talked about how incredible this guy is. Of course, coaches do that sometimes, kind of fire up the other guy a little bit. So there could be a little bit of that going on. But I think just seeing what Sam Levit looks like post surgery, what is his physical, the same physical attributes, everything going to be there. Again, we're talking about how important feet are for a quarterback. And then is there going to be a competition? Wouldn't be the first time in a Lane Kiffin offense. Hello, last year in Trinidad Chambliss. Wouldn't be the first time. So is there going to be more of a competition there than people are talking about? I think that's something to pay attention to, especially during the spring.
Yeah, there's no way you get all three of those guys without promising them a competition.
Right. Absolutely.
So, with Levit seems to be the perennial front runner of the bunch, depending on how he comes back from this injury. Longstreet has shown a lot
I
of
didn't even mention him. Yeah.
flashes of greatness, and of course, Clark is an intriguing pickup. It's moving to a major league, a conference like the SEC. That's a whole nother level of competition.
Exactly.
And the question is, will his talent, his skill set translate to that? Will Longstreet? Will Levitz? All of them.
Yep.
So I think with Lane Kiffin's offense and Charlie Weiss Jr. Calling plays, that I think there's going to be a competition, and the best guy is going to get that starting job.
And obviously we're SEC homers, but talking about the game translating, with all of these guys, they're coming from outside of the conference. And yes, there are tough places to play in other conferences. It is a challenge to be a quarterback at any level. But when you're now a quarterback that has a 360-pound defensive tackle that can run a 4.8 coming at you, a guy coming off the edge that's 6'4", 296 and can run a 4.3, as we see these guys do all the time, like in the combines that just happened last week or in the past few days. It's a different level. It is, you can see it when people like Spurrier go to the NFL and try that their offense that they've worked so well, and speed and strength and what offensive lines and linebackers can do to blow up the line of scrimmage. That's exactly what these guys are going to be facing for the first time. They've not seen it on this level like they will this year.
Yeah, and you're also looking at a basically a retooled offensive line at LSU. So the same thing we were talking about with Arch Manning in Texas.
Yep.
You got a basically new O-line. You got your center coming back, but he hadn't played with any of these quarterbacks.
Exactly.
You got new receivers. So it's going to be a learning curve, and how quickly these quarterbacks, Levit and Longstreet and Clark, adapt. That's what we're going to find out.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch with all of the changes, and then having three brand new guys. It's going to be an interesting QB room to watch during the spring for sure.
We're probably going to have to get some boudin from Billy's and have some more discussions about this, Darren.
I think that's a beautiful, beautiful idea.
About your fourth quarterback situation.
Fourth one, just quickly, just because it's Alabama. It's Kalen DeBoer. It's what's his offseason going to look like? Is he really going to be bulletproof like we talked about last week? You've got Keelan Russell and Austin Mack, two names that Alabama faithful are familiar with, but not a lot of people outside of the Alabama faithful are overly familiar with. What's this competition between these two guys going to look like? People there are a lot of people in and around Tuscaloosa that are on the Russell train. This guy's too talented. You cannot sit him. He's got to have a chance. He needs to be this. And then there's the same thing. There's people that are on the Mack train. And what's Kalen DeBoer going to do with this kind of decision? It's obviously a pivotal decision because people want to see the offensive mastermind be an offensive master. They want to see that. So it's all going to start with this spring and this decision. What's this room going to look like during the spring?
Yeah, everybody is 0-0. Everybody is potentially the next SEC champion going to the playoffs.
Absolutely.
Until we start playing games. So there's a lot of developments that take place between March and August, and we're here for all of them.
Yep, absolutely.
But before we get to those developments in spring football, we've got some basketball to talk about, and we want to make sure we give the women their props, because if you haven't noticed, the SEC women's basketball, it's a strong conference. We've got some elite teams, some elite talent. Yeah, there are some really good schools out there that will contend for a national championship.
Yep.
But overall, their conferences are not at the same strength level as the SEC is. So the women's tournament starts March 4th in Greenville, South Carolina. And we've got the brackets up here. And Darren, I know you've got a lot of thoughts about how this is all going to go down. We kick off with 16th seeded Arkansas against 9th seeded Kentucky as our first game on Wednesday at 11 a.m. Kentucky played South Carolina pretty tough the other day. But anyway, I'm not going to go through every game on the schedule, but what are some things that really stick out to you, Darren? What do we need to keep an eye on as far as the SEC women's tourney?
I tell you, one of the things you just talked about is this Kentucky-Arkansas game. I think Kentucky is a key piece of this puzzle because, like you said, they've played South Carolina well. They're in the South Carolina top part of the bracket. They beat Arkansas, beat Georgia, and they're on a 2-game winning streak coming into this game against South Carolina, and kind of feel like they can approach South Carolina. Yes, they didn't win them, but they win the game, but they played them well. So that's got to help build some confidence. So I think that is Kentucky wins that, getting to that South Carolina quarterfinal. That's a storyline. That is a quarterfinal to watch. Then in the very next step down, another storyline is going to be that LSU position in the bracket. Oklahoma has taken on the role of giant killer, taking on the role of we are here. You better take us serious. And they get the winner of the 12-13 game. Two teams that aren't really jump up and down kind of teams. You assume they're going to win that game, and then now you're looking at an LSU Oklahoma quarterfinal, and you've got Aaliyah Chavez, you've got Flau'jae Johnson. Chavez is basically Oklahoma, or obviously Oklahoma. You've got Flau'jae Johnson on the LSU side. Boy, you're talking about people to pay attention to that are just going to make the game even more fun. That's a very, very interesting quarterfinal. Another one is Texas Tennessee at the bottom of the bracket. You assume Tennessee can beat that game against the winner of Missouri Alabama. You hope for Tennessee that's the case. And then let's
stop and talk about that, Darren.
Okay.
Kim Caldwell, a lot of fanfare. Tennessee fans were elated to get her proven winner.
Yep.
But they're sitting at 16-11 right now,
yes,
somewhere around that, going into the SEC tournament,
and have had some tough games.
How are the murmurings in Knoxville right now?
It's definitely a murmur. It's above a whisper, but it's not a yell at this point. I think they're still giving a little bit of grace, a little bit of patience. But she needs to get to kind of, hey, just let us work the plan. Take a breath, let us work the plan. I think she's got to get to the postseason. I don't think she can have let's say Alabama beats Missouri in that first round game and then stumbles into a win over Tennessee and they go home, because that definitely knocks them off the bubble. If they lose that Alabama game, they are eliminated from postseason. That can't happen. I think it gets louder at that point. Of course, it is still only her second year, so it's not an end of the world as we know it kind of thing, but it will definitely be a much louder conversation. I think if they beat whoever wins that first game, and especially if they beat Texas, who's the number 3 seed, who is a big, that's a big story. You've got got a player like Madison Booker for Texas. You keep her quiet and beat this team. You're in the postseason. You're sliding. You're coming off of the bubble, headed right into right into the tournament, and that's going to do a lot. People aren't going to just jump up and down like, oh, we're good, but it's going to quieten the conversation a little bit. Tennessee has high expectations, as they should, especially with their women's program. But I think if she at least gets to the tournament, that quiets the conversation a little bit.
So if I heard you correctly, Darren, if Alabama beats Missouri in that first round game, Alabama plays Tennessee, that is a must-win game for Tennessee.
Oh, I think she has to. I think that's absolutely the case. You lose that game, you're eliminated in your first game of the tournament, and that's eliminated you from complete postseason. That is not a happy spot if you're the Tennessee women's coach. I don't care who it is.
Yeah, she's only in her second season, so we need to remember that, as you pointed out. There are high expectations at Tennessee.
Absolutely.
And I think one of the lower expectations the fan base has is to make the postseason.
Absolutely. So. Yeah, they see that as a foregone conclusion. It's not a can we, it's a where are we going to be seated? Or even if we're having an off year, can we at least maybe get that 12 seed and we can sneak up on somebody? Where are we going to be seated when we get there? Not can we get there?
And I think that's where the pressure begins to mount, because if by some fluke Tennessee loses to Alabama, they get knocked out of the postseason. Lady Vols fans are going to be sitting there watching the tournament, the NCAA women's tournament, seeing teams that they know their squad, their girls could have beat pretty handily. And that's when pressure starts to mount.
And you're going to have, assuming that South Carolina does what South Carolina does, you've got Tennessee fans that are still accustomed to, even though they haven't had the best few years stacked up, they're still accustomed to be the one that everybody talks about, and they're going to see Dawn Staley and this South Carolina team doing what the Lady Vols used to do. That's not going to sit well, especially if you're sitting at home. That's not going to sit well at all.
Yeah, you're looking at this, and if you're a betting South Carolina against Texas or Vanderbilt for the championship, when I look at this, LSU, for whatever reason, South Carolina is that they can't shake it for some reason. They don't show up those last few minutes of the game and execute. Gosh, if Oklahoma beats LSU and plays South Carolina, then you're talking a major revenge game. And you know how Dawn Staley and her squad do in those games.
They ain't afraid to enact revenge. No.
So, yeah, it's an intriguing tournament. I'm excited to watch. I mean, these are – when I look at this, teams that I think could compete for a national championship that are going to be in the conversation. Of course, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, Texas, LSU. You could even argue Oklahoma.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's 5 right off the bat that I think that once we start the big tournament, they're going to be in threats. Legitimate.
I think the 2 most intriguing quarterfinal possibilities is LSU Oklahoma, assuming that Oklahoma wins and gets there. I think that's a game to watch. And I think Vanderbilt cannot sleep on Ole Miss. That's if Ole Miss wins that whoever they end up playing against, the winner of that Texas A&M Auburn game, that is a game that Vanderbilt better be ready to come in and play and take very seriously, because that is a what just happened kind of game waiting to happen for Vanderbilt. That's, to me, those are the two most intriguing quarterfinal possibilities, those two games.
It's going to be fun. I mean, we're here. We are here.
Yeah.
We're in March.
And it's so awesome how good SEC women's basketball is right now and how much people are talking about it. I'm even, I know this won't surprise you, but I have a lot of sports conversations with a lot of different people. So at our office, UPS guy, Gerald, shout out if you're watching, he comes in and we always, especially football, we always talk football, but it was probably 2-3 weeks ago. He walked in, he said, "Tell me you're watching women's basketball." And I was like, "Oh, yeah." And he said, "Is this not incredible?" It's like, yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
It's really gotten a lot more conversation. And we've actually seen that build over the last few years. But it's exciting to see how good it is and how much conversation it's getting.
Yeah, it's wide open. I didn't even mention Kentucky. I mean, they're a 9 seed,
absolutely.
dangerous team. And
Yep.
who knows? Caldwell may get Tennessee rolling. They become a dangerous team. Boy, would that be nuts, Darren? How would your blood pressure be in the semifinal, Tennessee Vanderbilt?
Tennessee Vanderbilt semifinal. That would be, yeah, I might have to take a anxiety pill or something.
We might have to bring Brandon back for a show on that one.
Exactly. Yeah, we might have to preview that one with him or something.
Well, that's the women's tournament. We'll have updates as that progresses, and then we'll talk about the results as we head into the big tournament. And next week, we're also going to get into the men's tournament, SEC tournament, and projected seedings for the big dance that everybody watches and fills out brackets. And so we're glad that you're with us. You're watching the show. Hit that like button, subscribe button, please. I'm asking you kindly, nicely. It means a lot to us. Thanks for watching the show. New episodes drop every Tuesday.
I have a question.
But before we leave,
I have a I
Darren
need you
has
to
a
settle
question.
a debate for me.
All right.
I have heard this exact
You
debate.
just call an audible?
Yeah, this is an audible. We have definitely called an audible because I need an answer.
I'm hearing Omaha in my head now.
I will not say it.
Why do you suddenly sound like Peyton Manning?
I have heard this exact debate standing in the checkout line at Brookshire's,
Which is a grocery store.
Yep. Check local listings. It's a grocery store here in our area. And on randomly, just out of nowhere, on a non-sports related podcast, I heard this exact same debate pop up. And I thought, we talk enough about food. I need to ask this question. When it comes to fried chicken / chicken fingers, 3 options: Church's, Popeyes, Southern Classic. Who's the winner?
Just talking fried chicken?
Fried chicken and chicken strips. It was both of them. Just
chicken strips is another thing for me, but
you're going to go a totally different route on chicken strips, aren't you? Go ahead and say who wins chicken strips, even though you're wrong. Go ahead.
Of those 3?
No. Period. You can go off script.
Oh, Raising Cane's.
Not a chance in this world.
Yes, there's a chance.
So much better. But anyway,
who?
Southern Classic. I would choose
Southern Classic has the best fried chicken.
I agree with that.
Now, and that's a no-brainer.
I would choose their chicken strips over Cane's every single time, without hesitation. I know that is Louisiana blasphemy. I know. But to me, Southern Classic is a much better, even a chicken strip.
We may have to have a taste test because
I like that.
Being honest here, I've never gotten chicken strips from Southern Classic. I get chicken.
See,
I've never tried their chicken strips. So you might be right.
I'm just saying, the first time I had Cane's, there's this little country store out in the middle of nowhere in Tennessee, Patton's Park. Check local listings. If you're in Middle Tennessee, you know exactly what I'm talking about. My first thought when I had Cane's was, wow, Patton's Park chicken strips are better than Raising Cane's.
Whoa.
I'm just saying.
Whoa. You need to remember where you live, man. You're in the
I know it's an act of treason. I know.
Who butters your bread, man? What are you talking about? Get out of here with that heresy, Middle Tennessee.
I'm just saying.
Go back and wave your checkered flag.
I think you and I need to do something this week. You need to try Raising Cane's chicken strip. We need to get that taken care of. We can settle this once and for all. We'll do a taste
Well,
test
we
of the
can
two.
now, but you just went and made it personal, talking about some country place in Middle Tennessee having better chicken strips. Next week, we are playing Rocky Top nonstop.
I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. All right, so we'll figure
Goodness.
this out and we'll follow up on it. But we agree when it comes to fried chicken, Southern Classic is the chicken, correct?
Right. And
Okay.
at the
All
chicken
right.
strips, you need to be on the front row at church Sunday ready to repent.
Well, sometimes you just got to step out on that limb. I don't know what to tell you.
We're going to wrap up this show before we get to fighting. So we appreciate you watching, listening, and we'll see you next time. Until then, take care.
Have a great week.